I'm giving League Two a £2.4 billion TV deal. Every season, clubs in League Two will receive £100 million each. But it's only for the clubs in League Two. In Season 1, Colchester, Gillingham, Forest Green and MK Dons got promoted, whilst Newport County and Crewe got relegated. Next season, they'll only get what clubs in those leagues would get ordinarily. So that means teams from 5th to 22nd will get another £100 million next season. So it might be a good idea to get stuck in League Two, earn £500 million, and then use that to build a charge all the way up to the Premier League. But money isn't everything, as all 4 of the promoted clubs finish in the bottom half of the League One table in Season 2. They didn't even spend that much. Colchester just £675,000, MK Dons £1.7 million, Forest Green £675,000, and Gillingham just £76,000. So maybe they're saving their money to invest it in the training and youth facilities, or maybe they're even putting it into a brand new stadium. Or it's going into the wage bill, as they are 3rd, 4th, 6th and 8th in the league for wage spend. Ipswich and Bristol City are the top 2, given they were relegated from the Championship last season and they are still paying Championship level wages to their players. But the league's highest paid player is MK Dons' Warren O'Hora, on an eye-watering £53,000 per week. For context, Football Manager says that Jeremy Doku is on £40,000 per week at Man City. Warren, if you're watching, congratulations on securing the virtual bag. The rest of the clubs in League Two have actually been pretty tame with their spending. The largest transfer fee was for right-back Sam Long, the only transfer over £1 million. And whilst Wrexham do have a very similar wage bill to MK Dons, it's £4 million more than second place Notts County, which makes it even more frustrating for Wrexham because they didn't even get promoted this season. The league's top earner is Hungarian international wing-back Ben Boller on £48,500 per week. But for that sort of money, I'd want more goal contributions and a higher average match rating. The money has helped Crewe Alexandra bounce straight back up to League Two from the National League, but Newport County lost in the playoffs, so are stuck there for another season. They spent around £30 million to try and get back promoted and couldn't do it. But surprisingly, Newport County have kept their spending low, with their highest earning player on £3,500 per week, and Crewe aren't much higher with £3,500 per week for their top earner. So it might take a few seasons for us to see a real jump from our real-life League Two clubs to actually reach the Premier League. So let's come back in Season 10 and see if anyone is there. Well, in Season 10, there aren't any League Two sides in the Premier League. The biggest surprise package is Ipswich in 9th, but given how they're doing this season in the Championship, I wouldn't be surprised if this happened next season in real life. Instead, we only have 4 League Two clubs in the Championship. In Mansfield, Wrexham, Stockport and Wimbledon. How are there not more clubs there at this stage? Mansfield were in League Two for 3 seasons, and of the £300 million that they were given, they have just £300,000 left. That won't cover a month of Liam Delap's £80,000 per week contract. I sent administration coming very soon for the Stags. Wrexham spent 4 seasons in League Two before getting up to the Championship, but they only have £26 million of their £400 million left. But at least that will cover the £5 million per year they paid top earner Steven Sessegnon. Wimbledon had 5 seasons in League Two and actually have £100 million left, so they're actually doing okay. But they are paying Jordan James £110,000 per week, so they might not be okay soon. But it is Stockport to have it worst. After picking up £200 million for 2 seasons in League Two, they're now £191,000 in debt, which won't please top earner Leighton Clarkson as they owe him £76,000 per week. He really does not look happy. He makes up quite a large chunk of Stockport's £27 million per season they spend on wages, but they are dwarfed by the £51 million Wimbledon are paying their players to come 18th in the table. That is not sustainable. So it seems like teams are getting promoted, but are then spending way too much money on bad players who can't get them to the next level, but by the time they can attract players who can actually get them to the next level, they haven't got the money to pay them because they're spending it on really bad players instead. It also means we've created a huge bubble in League Two, with Colchester spending £31 million per week on their wages, which is more than 10 of the Championship clubs. There has also been a lot of change in the league, with not many League Two clubs from 10 years ago still there now. But Bradford have spent 9 seasons in the league. They had one promotion to League One but got relegated straight away, which means they've been in League Two longer than all the teams that started there at the start of the video. They've spent over half of the £900 million they've been given as part of a TV deal, and a lot of that is going on top earner Kieran Bowie, who's only a squad player with 18 starts this past season. The league's highest earner though is Swindon's Jarell Quansah, who's earning £105,000 per week in the 4th division. But they did pick him up on a free transfer, which actually is still pretty normal at this level. 10 years in the future, and the biggest transfer fee paid by a League Two club happened this past season, as Colchester paid £5.5 million for Harley Barrett. He's a regen on £45,000 a week, who is good for League Two, but in the grand scheme of things is not worth that amount of money. But I did think by this stage there would be a load more money being thrown around by League Two clubs, and it's not quite happening, at least in terms of transfer fees. But I am now very concerned that because it's been quite slow so far, we aren't going to see any teams in the Premier League by season 20. I swear the teams in the Premier League hasn't changed much in the last 10 seasons. They're all the same as they were before. This video is not going in the direction I thought it was going to when I started recording. Wrexham, Notts County, Stockport, Wimbledon and Mansfield are the only League Two clubs in the Championship, and only Notts County are new. Plus, Mansfield are getting relegated. However, we do have some good news. Notts County did spend 1 season in the Premier League 4 seasons ago, making them the only former League Two side to make it to the Premier League so far. They were actually predicted to finish second this season, but fell off way below that. This graph shows the last 21 seasons for Mansfield, and they've developed into the definition of a yo-yo club between League One and the Championship. Interestingly, they've really slashed their wage bill, as the highest earner is only on £30,000 a week, compared to the £80,000 per week 10 seasons ago. Wrexham to me look the most likely to get promoted. They've been established in the Championship for a long time, lost in the playoffs 3 times, and they've been very sensible investing into their training facilities, which they've completely maxed out. And they have £267 million to spare. So the financial conditions are looking good, but they need promotion quickly, as they have a huge wage bill of £69 million per season. But that is £11 million less than Notts County, who finished below them in the table. I guess their excuse is they are a former Premier League side and they've got parachute payments, but they were relegated 4 seasons ago now. Interestingly, League Two's wage budgets have stabilised at an upper limit of £31 million, the same as Colchester's 10 seasons ago. With £724 million in their bank account, Northampton are the most cash liquid club in England, and potentially the world. I love the fact the board have given their manager a transfer budget of £199 million, especially as they only spent £170,000 last summer. They've only spent 3 seasons of the last 21 outside of League Two, which is why they have so much money. So I'd like to think they are poised to spend £500 million to get themselves up to the Premier League by season 50. And whilst Northampton aren't there, Notts County, Wrexham and Stockport are, until the latter got relegated. County though have secured Europa League football, as they just beat Man City in the FA Cup final 2-1. Although it turns out, for at least the last 2 decades, County have been an established Premier League team, qualifying for Europe on multiple occasions, and have gone on to win 2 Europa Leagues, 2 Conference Leagues and 2 more FA Cups to add to their triumph in 1894. So there has been at least one major success from this TV deal in League Two. County beat Spurs and AC Milan in Europa League finals, as well as losing to AC Milan, Frankfurt and Valencia. Wrexham have also snuck in with a win over Atlanta, and although they weren't League Two to start off with, Derby County have also picked up 2 wins in this competition over Liverpool and Monaco. Wrexham have also been in the Premier League for most of the last 2 decades, with a highest finish of 3rd place. But they have run into financial issues and are currently £82 million in debt. which explains why they've been relegated this season. Stockport are the biggest yo-yo club I have ever seen. But now these three teams are in the Premier League, their spending is actually pretty average. County are spending £275,000 per week on Len van der Waal, which is actually a pretty average wage for a top Premier League team. County have the 5th highest wage bill in the league, but they have finished in the top 5 4 out of the last 6 seasons. So actually that spend is pretty reasonable. League 2 wages are now at a high of 36 million a season, as Barnsley pay 6 players over £60,000 a week. When you jump up to League 1, the wages don't really change all that much, which is pretty crazy really. League 1 doesn't have a £2.4 billion TV deal, so all of these wages are just being inflated by the fact that a few of these clubs had the odd season in League 2 and then they can spend all that money on some really bad players for very expensive wages. Also, teams at the bottom end of the Championship just can't compete because they haven't had Premier League money or they haven't had League 2 TV money, so they can only afford to pay players normal wages. In fact, there are 18 League 2 teams that have a bigger wage bill than West Brom in the Championship. But for teams coming up from League 2 into League 1 and the Championship, they have a ton of money to try and get themselves to the Premier League, and they are not scared in spending it. Hilariously, Cambridge are paying £132 million per season in wages, including a staggering £325,000 per week to John Morrissey, who, to be fair, does look good, but certainly not worth £325,000 per week good. But he did score 34 goals for them this season and help them to the Championship title. So we could stop there, but I want to find out if any of our former League 2 clubs can go on to win the Champions League. So I'll leave this simulating overnight to season 100 or hopefully past season 100, but only if you will like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 200,000 subscribers this year, and apparently 72.1% of you aren't subscribed. So now it's a new day and you all click subscribe. We're in 2161, or season 141, and Manchester United have just won their 48th Premier League title ahead of Arsenal and last season's champions Swansea. Crawley and Stockport are the only clubs from League 2 in real life in the division, which is a little bit disappointing. But my main focus is on Woking, staying in the Premier League by a point ahead of Manchester City. In the Championship, Scarborough Athletic have a chance to beat MK Dons and Notts County into the Premier League. Scarborough start in the National League North, but 14th place Marine start a league below them in the 7th tier of English football, so huge props to them. West Ham and Sheffield United have dropped down to League 1, but West Ham certainly have had the better season as they lift the title, whereas Sheffield United avoid relegation by a point. But Aston Villa are collecting £100 million per season in League 2, as they'll battle it out in the playoffs to earn promotion. Hull are the biggest name in the National League, but a number of Football League clubs now find themselves in England's 5th division. But it's Burnley who have fallen furthest. They're currently in the National League North, although they have just won the playoffs to get promoted, but Leyton Orient are being relegated from the National League South to drop into England's 7th division. So heading to our Moneybags division of League 2, wages have actually dropped since season 50, with only Altrincham spending over 20 million a season on salaries. Football Manager doesn't have an inflation metric in the game, which is why salaries are lower than they were 50 years ago and not at 20 billion. League 1 wages are also down from season 50, and they are at the top end of the Championship, but across the board seem to be a little bit higher in this division. So although we are saying wages are down from 50 years overall, they are still wildly above what they should be. League 2's top earner is on £83,000 per week, League 1's top earner is on £85,000 per week, and the Championship's top earner is on £250,000 per week. So yeah, just a little bit higher than what they are in real life. However, the closest we've seen any League 2 side come to winning the Premier League is Notts County, who came second in the 2089-90 season as they finished 4 points behind Manchester United. This was a golden decade for County, as in the 2097-98 season, they made it all the way to the Champions League final, eventually losing in extra time to Real Madrid. But soon after, they dropped off, and despite winning 10 Europa Leagues, their most recent win was over 50 years ago. County were by far the most successful team from the current crop of League Two clubs, which means that sadly, we haven't seen any League Two clubs win the Premier League or the Champions League. However, this past season, Ipswich won their first Champions League, which is still pretty impressive, and they certainly spent some time in League Two to get some of that TV money. So maybe this has worked a little bit. But I think we can be proud that we've created an economic bubble in the English football system, empowering players to earn ungodly amounts of money. York in the National League North, the 6th division, are paying their top earner £39,000 per week. So maybe instead a League Two club would have more success if they could only use English players. So in this video on screen, I have banned every foreign player from being able to play in England. How well do you reckon those English clubs will get on in European competitions? Well, you can watch this video right now to find out.